Happy Sunday, everyone. Today we are doing something a little bit different. We are going to cook Sunday dinner together. Now, if you grew up anything like me, Sunday dinners were the highlight of the event, or the day rather, after church. You wake up, you go get a good word, you come home, and you sit around the table with family and friends, and you partake in a meal. And I want to make sure that I am cultivating that same level of effort that I had growing up for my mom, and my mama, and my aunts and stuff, for my daughter and my family. So today is the day that we are going to make family Sunday dinner together. For today's menu, we are having roast chicken, cabbage, and roasted potatoes. Now we're going to cook the potatoes and the chicken together. We're doing a cast iron skillet roast chicken. I was first introduced to this method of cooking this chicken this way by America's Test Kitchen. You may know them from the PBS channel. I love them, have been watching them for years. And they featured this on one episode and I was instantly hooked on this method. So it's going to be high temp, high cook. You're going to turn off the oven, keep it closed, let it roast low and slow, temp check, and then you're done. Easy peasy. As we get deeper into the recipe, I'll show you step by step how to do everything. But first, I want to talk about menu planning. Planning a menu to me is one of the hardest things around cooking. It's figuring out what to feed my family, what to feed myself. And the mental load of having to keep track of all of that all the time is very overwhelming. So for Sunday dinners, I like to circulate through the protein for each week. 1 week chicken, 1 week beef, 1 week some type of seafood, and then the 4th week normally I'm not cooking. We're going out to eat, right? Everyone deserves a break. So I really like to cycle through the type of the protein that we're going to have and then fill in my sides based off what's available, what's fresh, what my family may be wanting, things of that sort. So today, like I said, we're doing chicken. My husband wanted cabbage, and then we're doing the roast potatoes because I need to use them up. They've been in my pantry for a few weeks and they're looking kind of sad. So we're going to make them happy today, and they're going to be happy in our bellies. So starting out, let's prep our chicken, which is going to take the longest to make, and what we need to do first. So here is my chicken. I've had it defrosting out of the deep freezer for roughly 2 days now. This is a pretty large bird. Let's see how much it weighs. This is a whole roaster, and I can't see the poundage anymore, but it looks to be maybe like a 5 or 6 pound bird. Y'all already know I buy marked down meats. I buy my meats on sale, and I would throw them in the freezer until I'm ready to utilize them. So this little baby has been in my freezer for a hot minute. I'm trying to make room, so we're eating them today. So let's prep this in our sink, and I'll show you how to clean our chicken and get it ready for our seasoning. So we now have our bird in the sink. And I am going to just take my kitchen shears, open the package, and allow the bird to go back into the dish that it was defrosting in.
Now listen, before we get started with this chicken, we are working in a clean kitchen and a clean sink. Always start with a clean space. And yes, we wash our chicken. Today I'm using white vinegar because I'm out of lemons, but either one works to cleanse your chicken and to freshen the meat. And don't toss out your neck and your gizzards. You can freeze them for a homemade stock, or you can use them to build a rich, flavorful gravy later if you're making rice or something like mashed potatoes. It's this kind of tradition that really connects me back to the kitchen that I grew up in, learning how to use every part of everything that comes into our home. Cooking Sunday dinner is more than just putting food on the table, especially for my family. It's a sacred type of event where we pass down memories, love, and culture. This is where stories get told, tons of laughter fills the air, and generations connect. It's where the elders get to kind of sit back and be honored, and kids like I did and now my daughter really get to see what togetherness and family looks like. Food is a ministry for me, y'all. And Sunday dinner, this is just another way for me to express that at the altar where we gather.
So I've transferred my bird to a wire rack on top of a cookie sheet or a baking tray. And we are going to just dab lightly and soak up some of the moisture that is on top of the skin. To get a really crispy skin, you need it to be dry before we add any of our seasonings, any type of oils or butters. So we're gonna let this dry. Again, I'm gonna pat very lightly, and then we're gonna go through and clean it up a little bit more, trimming some of the fat and making sure that our bird looks pristine. So we're gonna flip it over, and we're gonna dab until as dry as possible. So now that our bird has been cleaned with a little bit of vinegar and rinsed off, I'm gonna just go in and trim. This one doesn't have too much to trim, but a little bit of the neck flap up here. And I have my garbage bowl right to my right of me. If you see me tossing something, it's going in the trash. So I recommend you having some type of trash bowl close to you or your trash can open, so that while you're cleaning your bird and trimming it, you can throw that debris away. Like that little part there. Trim that off. Okay, not too much skin. Again, this is a really beautiful bird. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to get a paring knife and I'm going to scrape the skin clean. So this is my little paring knife, and the way I was taught to clean a chicken, we're going to rinse him again, so don't worry, it's a double rinse, is we're going to start at the top and we're just going to go down the skin. And if there's any additional feathers, any kind of weird looking stuff, we're going to just scrape it off. I have a little paper towel next to me here to wipe it on, and we're just going to get to scraping. We're not trying to slice the skin, but we are just going to lightly, I guess, kind of just scrape it to make sure that everything is clean off the bird. And you're scraping toward yourself so that you can control the knife and you can see what you're doing. Again, be very gentle. Most of the time I find that the thighs and the legs have more of the, I don't know what you call it, sludge, little gunk that I was taught to take off. And I'll try to get enough on my knife so you can see what it actually looks like. But again, this bird is fairly clean, which is really good. Okay, there's like a little bit on here, so I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm gonna have to put in some different lighting. I'll show you when I'm done. And you may have to pull the skin kind of taut to get it off, but you want to make sure the bird is clean. And this does take time, but it does help make sure that we're not just eating a clean bird, but that our bird can brown evenly as well. We're going to preheat our oven to 450 degrees. So now that our oven has started to preheat, we're going to start chopping our potatoes. Before we do that, I do want to show you what I was able to scrape off the chicken. Now again, this step is optional for most, I guess. It's really not. This is a requirement if I'm cooking in my kitchen, But you can see on this napkin here, I'm hoping that shows up. There we go. This is some of just the stuff that comes off the chicken. I think this is primarily from the follicle where the feathers were. But either way, it's something that I was taught to scrape off and to clean thoroughly. So our chicken is now clean. It has been patted dry, and it is now resting on the baking sheet for any water to drip down to keep the moisture off the bird. So when we're ready to apply again our seasoning and oils and stuff, it will adhere much better. So here are our potatoes. Let me grab me a knife. Alright, so I have a knife, and then we're going to put them in a colander to drain, rinse and drain. Then we're going to place them at the bottom of our cast iron skillet. I'm just going to get a small colander today to dice up the potatoes because they're fairly petite. Now, the original recipe does not call for adding potatoes, but I'm going to deviate and make it what I need it to be for my family. I really love potatoes. I love potatoes that get caramelized, that get really tender and soak up the juice of whatever flavoring agent that we're using. And having the chicken drippings on these potatoes are just going to be completely delicious. So we're going to slice up a few. I have a bag that was maybe a fourth left, and then a fresh bag. So we'll see how many we'll need. This might be enough. But I love having leftover potatoes. They can go in salads, they can go in soups. There's so many other different applications of roasted potatoes that you can use for making them just one time versus just it being a roast potato. So this is what this looks like right now with those halves. I'm going to probably cut open a few more, and just to make sure we have enough. Because what we don't want on Sunday dinner is to not have enough food. That is one rule of thumb my family lives by. You cook too much than not enough. You would rather have people take home food than people be hungry and they're looking at you like, why did you invite me over? And since y'all are over today, I want to make sure you have enough to eat as well. So let me know in the comments below, are Sunday dinners big in your family? Is that how you grew up? Again, I grew up a little bit of everywhere. My dad was in the military, but everywhere we lived, there was always a sense of community. And I remember, again, vividly, after church on Sundays, we would go to people's houses. They would come to our house. We would have potlucks. If y'all are familiar with a potluck, as if you're my age, you should be. And we would have everyone bring something different. And I just have really good memories of everyone coming together, everyone having fun, and the mood just being very light and very, I don't know, fun. You know, as I've gotten older, I really look back and I'm like, wow, that was such a really good time in my life. Not knowing it at the time because I was such in a hurry to grow up. But now that I'm grown, boy, oh boy, would I love to go back a couple days and just be a kid again. And not necessarily a kid, because I don't mind being an adult, but the sense of freedom that you have in being a youth, the sense of, you know, full autonomy of your decision making. And like, I mean, yeah, I can have that now, but every decision I make now affects myself, affects my husband, affects my daughter. When back then it was just me having to be uncomfortable if I made a decision I didn't like. So I think having that level of childlike essence is something I yearn for every now and again. But that's here nor there. But potluck Sundays and Sunday dinners are something I hold very dear to my heart. So this looks like a decent amount of potatoes. We're going to get these washed up and we're going to get them added to our skillet. And if we still need more, we'll chop a few extra.
Now, don't forget, we wash our food, not just our meat. These potatoes are root vegetables, which means they come straight out of the dirt. So make sure you give them a good scrub, and clean food is good food, period. Also, I would love to hear from you. What is your favorite Sunday dinner memory or your go to meal? I love getting recipes and thoughts and ideas from y'all, so let me know in the comments. Let's swap stories so that we all can grow and build connection.
I believe I mentioned that this is going to be a cast iron chicken. So I am going to put some butter at the bottom of my pan. Now this butter is going to baste our potatoes, and then it's also going to catch the drippings of our chicken, and this will help us create a pan sauce. So instead of adding butter later to finish a pan sauce, we're going to make everything right here in our skillet right now. So we're going to put our potatoes cut side down. And again, these are super tiny. I'm going to put them cut side down all over. And get them all in there. Just squeeze them all in. And you can move the butter out of the way. I just went on and put it in there to have, but we just might put the butter on top. So we'll let that do like that. Put that over there. Put that down right there. It's gonna be so good. And this too is gonna act as a riser for the chicken. So the chicken back will not be completely submerged in liquid as it produces its drippings, because the potatoes will help levitate the chicken just a little bit. So we're going to put our butter all around, and this will melt down like so, like that. The only real seasoning I'm going to add to this is a little bit of fresh pepper. A little hefty sprinkling of onion powder. A little healthy sprinkling of garlic powder. And then just a little sprinkle of salt. I got these cute salt and pepper shakers from Target, from the Heart and Herflin from Joanna Gaines, just as an FYI. Potatoes are seasoned. Now let's go back to our chicken. Okay, we are now going to season our chicken. So I season my chicken with a house seasoning. I keep it in this little container, but it contains adobo, garlic powder, onion powder, smoked paprika, salt, pepper, and crushed red pepper. So this is what I will utilize to put on our chicken, and I will do about a tablespoon per side. We really like a well-seasoned chicken in my family, so you could use a teaspoon if you would like, but we want full flavor. So we're going to use a full tablespoon per side to make sure that looks adequate. And I like to say, if you're not sneezing, you're not seasoning, because however your food smells, if you can smell the spices and seasonings, then it will normally taste the same. If you can't smell what you're cooking, it's going to be bland and you need to add some more seasoning, okay? You can over season, don't over salt. Remember that. Okay, so before we do that, let me flip my chickie over. So if you have clean hands and you don't want to touch your chicken like I don't right now, an easy helper is a pair of tongs. You go straight in the cavity and you flip it over like so, like that, okay? And that keeps you from getting your hands dirty. So we're gonna take about, like I said, a tablespoon or so, and we're just gonna sprinkle the back. Now, ultimately my hand will probably get dirty because I'm going to pat in my seasonings. I'm not going to smear it, I'm going to pat it in to make sure that it sticks to the skin. But before we do that, let's do another pat dry. Let's do another pat dry to release some of the moisture. Alright, can y'all see the wetness on that? We got a little bit of extra liquid. Alright, so let's get to seasoning. So we're gonna just sprinkle over. I'm not left-handed, y'all, so it's hard to sprinkle, but I like to pat with my right, but I'm trying to keep one hand free. So let me just do like this real quick. All right, make sure you get your wings real good when you're on the back of your chicken. And then make sure when you're on the front, you lift up the flap to get the inside. Okay, we're gonna add a little bit more on the caboose. Let me wash my hands and pull you in tighter so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So this is how the back of our bird looks seasoned. Beautiful, fantastic. So now we're going to flip them back over. Using our tongs, we're going to scoop in the middle. And we're going to flip over to the front, like that. And we're going to pat dry again. Removing any additional moisture from the skin as we prep it for our seasonings. So with clean hands, I'm adding another tablespoon of my house seasoning. Again, this is garlic, onion powder, adobo, smoked paprika, salt, pepper, and crushed red pepper. The good thing about a house seasoning is that it's a house. It represents what you and your family enjoy eating and the flavor profiles that fit best for you all's palate. And this one is the tea. This one works on everything. Fish, chicken, beef, pork, any and everything you can think of. So I'm just going to sprinkle it everywhere. I'm going to, again, put it in the crevice of the wings and on the breast. And then we're going to go in and pat it. Pat it in. Okay. Alright, so although I prefer keeping one clean hand, it's oftentimes not the case because chicken is one of those things where you have to keep washing and rewashing just to make sure that you aren't cross-contaminating anything with, like, you know, salmonella or things like that. And plus you want everything to be extremely seasoned. So this is a really big bird. I'm probably going to need another tablespoon or so of seasoning to make sure everything is coated. So let me do that real quick. Hands are washed. I'm just going to put back on my shaker top and just shake what I need out of the bottle. So this needs a little bit over here. Massage that on. Get that wing tip back there. wingtip. And I want to point out that this right here is a roaster thermometer. So when the chicken is thoroughly cooked and at the right temperature, just like on a turkey, this little white thing is going to pop up to let me know. Now, not all birds have that, but if you buy a whole roaster like this, then normally they will. And this is a Purdue chicken. I really like their chicken by Purdue. They're my favorite brand currently of chicken. They have really clean tasting chicken. If there's chicken that tastes like chicken. But use whatever is available to you or whatever your family likes. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to lift up the little toot of the chicken, and we're going to put some seasoning in the cavity. Put your hand in and swirl it around. We're also going to add some onion, celery, and bell pepper to the cavity before we put it on top of the potatoes to roast in the oven. I have some celery here that I've already cleaned and chopped, so we'll probably need, I don't know, maybe three or four pieces. We'll do that. We're going to chop at least half an onion. Clean the paper off. Cut off the end. Cut through. And you don't have to be like extremely precise. We aren't going to actually eat this part that we put in the cavity, but it will impart flavor into our chicken. So you don't have to be like extra gracious with the onion. I might go ahead and just chop all of it, at least in 3 pieces. I really love the way onion tastes in chicken. It's something that is very distinct to me, and it's very delicious. So I'm gonna try maybe 3, if not we'll do the whole thing. And then for bell pepper, probably maybe half your bell pepper, so maybe 3, depending on its size. 3 good sections of the bell pepper. And we're gonna just stuff these into the cavity of the chicken. Okay. So we've already seasoned the cavity. So let me put the chicken on the board, and then we'll stuff it. And another reason I like to keep my chicken on a baking tray when I am making a roast chicken is that it keeps the chicken juice to one isolated area. So I'm not having the chicken splash a million different places for cleanup. It's super easy to keep everything centralized right here on the baking tray. I can drain it, sterilize it, wash it, all done. Okay? So I put in my celery first. Just going to open that up and shove it in. Next, I will put in my onion. And it's kind of playing Tetris. You just got to see where it can fit in. I think maybe 2 might be the max. Add in our bell pepper. Again, when these flavors cook together, they're going to get very soft. They're going to release its natural juice and essential oils. And it's going to be so incredibly delicious. And that's one thing I love about a roast chicken, is that you can really make it, it's the same protein as far as the chicken, but based off how you season it, it can be jerk, it can be Cajun, it can be rotisserie. Today is kind of like a season all chicken. There's so many options in making roast chicken at home that it's really endless. So there's 2 options you can do for trussing your chicken. You can tie the legs together, which I will do here in a minute, with twine, or you can use dental floss if you don't have kitchen twine, and you can either tuck your wings or leave them out. My husband is a wing eater, so I normally, I don't know, it depends. I sometimes will tuck my wings if they're willing to tuck. They seem tuckable today. If they don't want to tuck on some days, then I will just kind of let them be free, but you do need to maybe tint them with some foil so they don't burn. Okay, so make sure all that's in there. Perfect. Oh, she's beautiful, guys. So pretty. I'm gonna wash my hands again. I'm washing my hands again. And I'm going to get the kitchen twine. So one moment. Let me pull you a little closer. Okay. Okay. So this is kitchen twine. It is a thick cooking rope that is heat resistant. So I'm just going to, I don't know, take off a little bit. It comes with the built-in blade and you just go whoop, just like that. So I tear just about that much, maybe like 3 or 4 inches. And I'm just going to truss the chicken. Truss our chicken, and we're going to grab one ankle and the other ankle. We're going to bring them together. Normally bring them a little bit out. Act right, chickie. Okay. You're gonna go like this. You're gonna, if it will let me do it. All right. Here we go, here we go. You're gonna pull it tight. Okay, all right. This chickie wants to be difficult. It is a bigger bird, but it's okay. So we're gonna hold our little legs together. So it's almost like changing, it's almost like changing a baby's diaper, right? You're gonna hold the little legs up, you're gonna tie them, right? Tie them together. Make a little knot like that. And then I'll just cut it with my kitchen knife, like that. And I'll tuck that down. And then while it's baking, it'll stay in place. And then we can pull it out or cut it off when the chicken is done. What this will help do is make sure that the chicken looks parallel now. It looks even on both sides. So while it's in the oven, the heat around the chicken will help it cook evenly and not have certain spots done, hot spots, things of that sort. So we're going to give it one last look over. I'm going to look it over again. There's a few spots I want to hit again that are not seasoned enough for my liking. And then we're going to put them in the what is that? Oh my gosh, the oven. I was about to say the fridge, but you are not going back in the fridge, little chickie. It is time for you to be roasted and toasted. All right, and since my hands are clean, I'm just using a napkin to help dab it. Make sure the wings got plenty of seasoning. Again, that's one of my husband's favorite cut of meat. And again, the napkin will help in place of me using my bare hands right now, at least until I move it. It'll help spread around the seasoning because it's a little damp. Okay. All right, see, it's not picking up anything. It's just helping spread it around as a little tip for you. Okay. So now that we're done, I'm going to lift the chickie up and place it in our roasting pan. And then we're going to hit it with a little bit of spray. Oh, beautiful. All right, we're gonna move this to the sink out of the way. And again, that means my cutting board is not contaminated either. We're gonna put our chicken up here. And then what we're gonna do before we bake it is we're going to give it a little spritz with some cooking oil. I like to use avocado oil to do my final spritz, but if you were basting this with butter, that would take its place. If you have any other type of cooking spray, coconut oil cooking spray, all those work the same. And what I do with this is I do it because it helps it brown evenly. So I spray from a short distance and I just spray. Oh, I'm out. Let me get another bottle, guys. Oh my gosh. These little things are so hard. All right, open, fresh bottle. I take it and I just spray the top, spray the bottom. And what that will do is it will help it evenly brown. So y'all, here is our bird. Ah, so pretty. Look at that. Evenly coated, perfectly trestled. We're gonna put this in our preheated oven of 450 degrees for 35 minutes. Now this is a big bird, so I might have to go for 40 minutes and then I'll turn the heat off and go for another 30 minutes, check the temperature, and then go from there. The whole point of this is to start at a very high roast to get the skin crispy, crunchy, brown, caramelized. And then when you turn the oven off, the oven will still hold its heat and it will gradually come down in temp, making sure that our breast meat, our thigh meat, all of the meat of the chicken will help keep in its juice and become a very succulent, juicy piece and very tender roast once we cut into it. So the high temp and then the gradually lowering, make sure that our meat is tender but our skin is crispy, brown, and beautiful. So we're going to put this in the oven. I do want to note that cooking in a cast iron skillet does help also even the playing field or evenly distribute the heat of whatever you're cooking, either on stovetop, roasting, whatever you want to do. My mama gave me this cast iron skillet, so I got it when, I don't know if she gave it to me when I got married or a couple years prior, but this was my mama's and she gave it to me. It is well seasoned, well loved. So anytime I use it, I think about her. So hey girl, hey. So we're gonna put this in the oven, like I said, and then we're gonna get started on our cabbage. And pretty much half our meal, the potatoes and the chicken, check, already done. We're gonna do a quick kitchen reset and then get back to cooking our meal. So if you are cooking chicken, you do want to make sure that you properly clean and sanitize once you are done. So my countertops will be sprayed down, my sink will be sprayed down and wiped out. I will spray down the baking rack that we used on it with disinfectant spray and put it in my dishwasher. So make sure that you clean up thoroughly before you move on to your next step to make sure there is no cross-contamination of any chicken juice, fluid, on anything else, okay? So, some of my favorite cleaners. This is a disinfectant spray. I have no idea where it's from. It's called Smart Touch. I think my mama got it for me. I don't know. But I use this to disinfect, and then I will go in with my Mrs. Meyer's. I love this one in Snowdrop. This is normally out at Christmas, but I buy so many that I use it year round. It smells so good. And then I'll go back through with my multi-purpose spray to make everything kind of smell good and clean, okay? So these two together are what I use to clean up my sink. Now you can also use Lysol, Clorox wipes, Lysol wipes. You can use Lysol spray as well. I don't have that available right now. We're in my kitchen. But that is something you could do too, just as a heads up and a friendly reminder. I did want to mention that I did take out the giblets and the neck. Now, if you've never seen this before, these are parts of the chicken, okay? When you get a whole roast chicken, you get the parts as well. So you have the neck, which is this part here. And then you have like the liver and the giblets. Now, giblets rather. You can use this to boil down, make stock. This makes an excellent gravy. An excellent gravy. This is all my mama used to use growing up. You add some water till you cover it, you boil it down, add your seasoning, salt, pepper, garlic, onion, and you use this liquid to make your gravy. Absolutely wonderful. You can also freeze this. You can also make chicken stock from this. I'm not going to use it today in my application of cooking my roast chicken because we're not having like rice or anything like that. And I'm going to transport it into a Ziploc bag and throw it in my freezer for another time. But I did want to show you that these are the contents of a whole chicken. They come contained in a wrapper, and you can use them to make gravy, make chicken stock. You can fry these up and eat them. I don't do that, but you can. It's an option. So just an FYI if you've never done it or seen it before. Okay, our kitchen has been reset. Everything has been sanitized. I just got my pot that we're going to make our cabbage in, and we're going to get started on that. Alrighty, we are moving on to our cabbage. Cabbage is one of my favorite, if not favorite, side. Between cabbage and like black-eyed peas or field peas, those are my absolute favorite. Cabbage is something my husband also really enjoys, so I make it fairly often. It ranks up there with the OGs, right? So we're making this today. I am de-seeding my bell pepper, and I'm going to slice this thinly into small strips, probably about 1/2 inch to 1 inch little ribbons that we're going to saute ahead of us adding our cabbage to the pot. Now you can use any color bell pepper that you have. I'm going to be using orange today, and I have another, I don't know, I think a red or green bell pepper in the fridge that we're going to dice up. But adding bell pepper gives a really nice, I guess, kind of umami flavor to your cabbage, which is really delightful. I learned how to make cabbage when I was in college. I was dating this guy at the time. Hold on. Just rinsed off this bell pepper and cleaned it. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut this one in half, de-seed, clean out the membrane, which is this little white part, like the little pith, and then take that out. So anyway, back to cabbage. I learned how to make it when I was an undergrad. I was dating this guy, and we would go see his grandma every now and again. And his grandma, Big Mama Hattie, made the best cabbage. It was so good. I remember her cabbage, she always liked a little taste of Tanqueray. Anyway, she was the sweetest old lady, and she invited me into her kitchen and she taught me how she made hers. Now she would start her base with fat meat, which is fat back, or you can use bacon. I do have a little bit of bacon grease we'll add today to ours. She would add in bell pepper, and then she would add in, maybe, depending on how much cabbage she had, she would start it with a little bit of water for it to steam. And then she would add in salt and pepper to taste. And when I say she made some of the baddest cabbage, Big Mama Hattie, you were that girl. Anyway, I am making a variation of her recipe blended with my family's recipe, which also includes bell pepper. And then we do ours on a low and slow simmer, so it's more like a braised cabbage more so than a quick saute. Here is my head of cabbage. I got a small kind of petite cabbage today. It's only going to be my family of 3 eating, so I didn't need to really get a big head. But you're going to get the head of cabbage you think that will feed your family, plus a little bit more. Cabbage is notorious for cooking down. It will wilt really far down, kind of like spinach. So you want to get over the amount you think you're going to need to either have enough or surplus. So I am going to trim off the outer leaves. I'm going to wash them and cut them up really good. So I told you my cabbage recipe is a hybrid of my family's as well as Big Mama's, who taught me originally. So my great aunts out in East Carolina like to use the outer green leaves of your cabbage. They hold a lot of flavor, but they're much more firm than the interior leaves of the cabbage. So I will remove those first, and then I will continue to kind of pare down to the more tender greens of the cabbage. Now this cabbage here only had 2 outer thicker leaves. Some can have up to like 4 or 5. Keep the ones that are darker green that you think look the best shape, and then we'll kind of, again, trim them up. We are going to wash our cabbage, or at least rinse it off. We're going to cut off the core, and then we're going to dice these, or not dice, but we're going to slice our cabbage into strips. I like mine a little strips and a little bit chunky, so I do kind of a hybrid of how I cut my cabbage, but cut your cabbage any way your family likes. So I'm going to set my green leaves to the side and dice those last, because you're going to saute those first. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the core from my cabbage. Put that to the side. And I cut my cabbage wherever the seam of the top leaf is, like this leaf goes this way. I'll cut my cabbage perpendicular to that particular leaf. I don't know why I do that, but that's how I've been cutting my cabbage forever. So I'll cut it perpendicular to that particular leaf top. And then I'll lay it flat. Always try to cut your cabbage, if you can, on the flat side down, because it can roll and you don't want to have an accident of slipping, cutting yourself with your knife. So I'm then going to cut this in half again. Put 1/2 to the side. And this is what I was saying about, I like to kind of switch up the thickness of how I cut my cabbage. So I will start with kind of my more rough chop. And I'm cutting maybe, again, inch pieces, right? We're going to cut all the way down. We're looking for ribbons. So somewhere between that level of thickness is how I like to cut my first round. Then I'll move this to my little bowl. And then for my second cut, depending on my mood, I might go long way. If you go down long way, this resembles more what you'll see as far as the coleslaw packets in the grocery store. And I'm not a real big fan of that for cabbage. So I just cut thicker chunks for a variety of cabbage texture. So some are a little bigger, some are a little smaller. That's just how I do it. That's how I saw, again, Big Mama do it, and that's what I do. And the beauty I find in getting recipes from various people in your life is that you can make it your own. So although that gentleman and I didn't work out in the long run, his grandmother imparted some wisdom. I'm just trimming off a piece that was looking a little split, so I'm trimming that off. All right, I was trimming off this piece of cabbage that was damaged and punctured, and then it went down through the inside of the cabbage too. It went through the inside of the cabbage, so I was just cutting away to get a clean surface on our cabbage. But back to what I was saying, the beauty of recipes and cooking is that you can make it your own. So even though you may not cook cabbage the way I cook it, you cook it how you cook it, and it's still good. That's the beauty of it. it fits your taste and your family. And that's what I love most about cooking and learning, is that you can always evolve and try something different if you like something better as you move and shape through life. So we're gonna put all of this in our bowl over here. Put that over there. Then we're gonna chop up our last little bit of cabbage. And then you and I are gonna get ready to saute, or simmer rather. Be careful when you are chopping that you go back and look through your core pieces. Sometimes the core will kind of sneak in and you'll want to remove those pieces. They will get tender as you cook, but they're not my favorite to bite into if I am having cabbage. So I try to remove them as best as I can. Not always, but as best I can, and based off the time I have. And what I'll do with this is there's like a little, I'm gonna trim the rib out. So I'm gonna cut a V in the bottom and it comes right out just like that. And if you ever rolled collard greens to chop those, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna roll these up. We're gonna roll them tight. And then we are gonna cut these into ribbons, a little bit smaller than what we did our actual cabbage pieces. And these are gonna cook when we cook the bell pepper, because they're gonna take longer to get tender because they are the outer protective layer of the cabbage. So they should look like little mini ribbons or chiffonades when you are done. Okay, so let's go over to the stove and get cooking our cabbage. We have our greens and bell peppers and our cabbage on this side. So over medium heat, we're going to get our pan going. And again, I mentioned that I had some bacon grease in my fridge. This is the bacon grease that has been chilled. I fried some bacon the past couple days and just saved the grease. You can keep on your counter or in the fridge. I just put mine in the fridge. We're going to add about a good teaspoon to start. Let that melt down. And as it melts, I'm going to add in our peppers and the green portion of our cabbage to saute. Now again, the greens are the outer protective layer of the cabbage and they will take longer to wilt down than our normal cabbage. So we're going to start them with our peppers. And this step is from how my great aunts do them. And if a little piece of cabbage gets in, it's fine. It's all going to the same place. I just like to really cook in stages so that everything gets the proper allotted cooking time as best as possible. Making sure we don't leave any cabbage, any bell pepper behind. So I have this on a medium low. And we are going to saute this until they begin to blister. Not get a huge color on them, but they become translucent and they have a bit of a blistering. Now, if you are vegetarian or you don't like to use fat meat, you don't have to. You can also use a neutral flavored oil. I've used avocado oil most commonly if I don't have bacon drippings, and it turns out beautifully. You would just add enough to the bottom of your pan to coat the pan and allow each of your ingredients of the peppers and the green portion of the leaves to be coated. So everything should look greasy, just kind of like this, how it has that sheen to it. And you can always add more oil if needed. But we're going to saute on a low to medium heat, allowing these to release its natural moisture to help with the steaming and browning process. And this will take 3 to 5 minutes depending upon how many peppers you have. So we're going to let that go. So our peppers and our greens have wilted down. Let me show you. They've wilted down fairly nicely. So we are now going to go on to our next step in adding in our cabbage and our seasoning. So I'm going to add a touch more of our bacon drippings to accommodate for the amount of cabbage we're about to add. So about another good clump, teaspoon or so. We're going to get that going in there and melt it down. Get that all melted. Again, we're still on a medium to low heat, allowing everything to come together. So now we're going to add in our cabbage. And I add in a little bit at a time. And again, this is going to cook down. So to coat our cabbage, we're going to mix around. Oh, see, there's a piece of the core, guys. Got to take that out. Missed those 2 pieces. I'm going to mix this around. Get it nice and coated. Then we're going to do it again with our other batch. And again, this cabbage is going to cook way, way down. So it may look like the pot is too small. I can assure you this would be just the perfect size to get everything in and going. Add that in. Add that in. Okay. Perfect. So now I'm going to do my first seasoning. I'm going to do 1 teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to start with 1 teaspoon of pepper. Then I'm going to add about 2 ounces or 4 tablespoons of water. And this will help to steam our cabbage. All right, put our lid on and we're gonna let this simmer for probably 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5. And then as it starts to wilt down, just like with collards, we're gonna mix and get everything stirred together and then perfect our seasoning as our cooking goes on. While the cabbage is going, let's get a look at our chicken. Let me get my oven mitt. Here is how our chicken is looking so far. It's getting good and brown. So we're going to do a few more minutes in the oven. Then it should be ready here in about 30 minutes or so. Okay, y'all, I about got caught slipping with this cabbage. I had to go be a mom for a minute and I forgot about it. So let me show you what happened. So I'm transferring my cabbage from this pot to this one. Like I said, I got caught momming for a minute and I let my pan get too hot on the bottom without mixing it, so it's scorched in one section. So I'm just going to transfer everything over. The flavor is still good. It doesn't taste any different. But I do want to go ahead and wash this pot and get this transitioned over. Because ain't nobody got time to go buy a new head of cabbage and do this again. Not today. So we're going to drain all this really well. And if a few pieces stay, that's fine too. perfect. Alrighty, so my new pot is on. Here's what I did in the old pot. If you can see it right there, kind of scorch it in the corner. So again, that is about to be cleaned. Our cabbage is still looking good. It's not, the cabbage itself is not scorched, so that's great. But we're gonna let this simmer a few more minutes and then we'll be ready to eat here shortly. Just wanted to share that kitchen mishaps happen all the time. I mean, not all the time, but you get it. They do occur. So it's okay if things happen. Nothing is perfect all the time. But you do need to know that things happen. And today I was busy momming and the cabbage paid a consequence for me being a mother. Anyway, it's saved. We'll come back and check on it in a few minutes. All right, friends, here is our beautiful roast chicken. I've given y'all a close-up already. I'm going to put it on my cutting board for a moment. It's still warm, so I'm going to put it on a pot holder on my counter. Right there. It's been resting for about maybe 10 minutes out of the oven. I'm going to grab a pair of tongs to put it on our cutting board, and we're going to carve it up. She's really pretty, y'all. I'm really happy with the way she turned out. And our little internal thermometer, or our external thermometer, also popped up, indicating that the chicken is done and cooked thoroughly. Place it down. It smells so good. Our potatoes are at the bottom of our skillet. So we're gonna put our potatoes in this bowl here. They are tender. They look absolutely beautiful. They have roasted nicely in the juice. I can scrape them up here. All right, let me bring the potatoes so y'all can see them. So the potatoes are like super tender. They're beautifully browned and toasted. Let's take a little test. They are cooked beautifully. Again, they are tender. They have the really good flavor from our seasoning. It has the drippings that taste like chicken. So good. We do have a pan sauce in here that we're going to get to in 1 minute. But for now, I want to give you a close-up of our chicken. So here is our bird. It did get a little crispy, which is great. Our little thermometer or doneness popped up, so we know that our chicken is cooked thoroughly. The real test to see if your chicken is cooked is to pierce it between the thigh and the body. So we're going to pierce this right here. And if the juices run clear, then it is ready. And that looks clear to me. Beautiful.
All right, now we're going to go ahead and carve this chicken so we can get it on our serving ware. Carving a whole chicken might seem intimidating, but it's really simple once you know the steps. I'll talk you through it. Start by removing your thigh and your leg. Slice it where the thigh meets the body and gently pull back until the joint pops. Then cut through. Do the same on both sides. Next, remove the wings. Just like the legs, find the joint and slice clean through. Now for the breast. Use your knife to cut right down the middle of the breastbone. Then gently work along the bone to remove each breast half. Slice them across the grain for tender pieces and keeping the skin intact. That's it. Nothing fancy, just a few clean cuts, and you've got a beautiful platter ready to go. And don't forget about the pan drippings. You can reduce them on the stovetop for a rich pan sauce, or just strain like I do today and serve as an au jus on the side. Either way, it'll be packed with full flavor and it gives your chicken a little bit of a razzle dazzle or something extra special. A little tip when plating food for your family or just yourself: don't rush. You took the time to make the meal, so take the time to present your meal with care. It can be a nice plate, beautiful china, or a paper plate. Whatever it is, make it beautiful for you. I like to layer the pieces of my chicken so that it stays crispy and the juices don't pool too much together. If I'm serving along with other sides like today, I will place the meat in a separate container, or if I'm using the same type of tray where it's easy to grab, especially for your littles or for some of your older family members. Again, plating doesn't have to be fancy. It just needs to say you matter and to make it beautiful. Food for me is a love language in my home, and it's a part of how I get this message across to my family. Even when Jesus broke bread, he did it with care. There's something sacred about feeding people and feeding people well.
All right, y'all, I want to show you how tender this chicken is. Y'all see that? Can y'all see that juiciness? This chicken is so tender, so succulent, and I'm so excited. My hands are literally dripping, but I wanted to show you just how tender this comes out. The skin is still intact and crispy, not soggy. So definitely give this technique a try. We are about to eat and chill out. Okay, y'all, here is the finished product. We have our roast chicken. We have our roast potatoes as well as our braised cabbage. I did put the liquid from the chicken in a little cup, and I don't have a fat separator, so I just mixed it up really good. But you can always take a little bit and drizzle over your meat and make sure that it remains moist and delicious for your enjoyment. All right, y'all, that is it for today's Sunday Cook With Me. Thank you for taking time to hang out with me today as we made our delicious roast chicken, our potatoes, and our cabbage. Again, Sunday dinners for me are a time for us as a family to get together, to kind of start our week off together in anticipation of what's to come, to recap the weekend, and to really think about the joy of the Lord that he has given us, and to reflect on what he will continue to do. So I hope that you enjoyed today. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you for hanging on. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Share it with someone that you want to build community with. We are over 1,000 members strong. We are still growing. I am so excited for that. This is a new format that I am trying out to let you all see kind of more of who I am. I really do enjoy building this community and cooking for my family. Again, Sunday dinners for me run very deep. They are something that I've been doing since I've been on this earth, so over 40 years. And I want to continue that legacy with my family and introduce you to that if you haven't experienced it before. So thank you for having dinner with me today. I hope that you enjoyed learning something new. If you did please make sure that you like the video, share it with someone that could use this knowledge or benefit from me. I am so excited to be growing our community. So thank you for your help in doing that. As always, I pray that you know that you are seen, that you are so incredibly loved, and you are chosen of the Most High. And I want to say thank you for hanging out with me today. We're going to go eat and enjoy, clean up, and I will see you back here Sunday at 6 o'clock. Bye, y'all.